Hello, it's Kelly here, and this video is going to be talking a little bit about trauma healing, forgiveness, and also leading into an idea I've had for a long time and I'm still developing, which is having a coven, an online coven. I might do it through Patreon. I've started, and I will apologize for the lighting. It looks like the camera's trying to auto adjust, but I'm not going to keep talking about it. But I'm going to be doing it through Patreon. I decided I started the Firehorse Grove playlist on my Hedgewitch Herbarium channel to post content all about trauma processing, and the same concepts are going to be applied to the Coven, which will be on Patreon, and I'll keep you posted about that. Um, and with Patreon, of course, there's a paywall, and I'm going to keep it really cheap. There's going to be 3 tiers. At least the first tier, which will be the basic one, of course, which will only, I'm going to keep it at $3 a month, 3 being a witch's number. And of course, the other tiers I've yet to develop. Well, I've, written them up, but I'm still honing them. But the reason why I want to do it, I want there to be a place for people like me who who are either going through trauma processing and need some support doing that, especially dealing with the dark stuff which comes up from that, dealing with shadow work, using the patronesses, the goddesses I've chosen for the grove, which will be Hecate, Ereshkigal, Lilith, and Hel. And every now and again, there's going to be some guest deities, I suppose you could call it, which we'll talk about, like Persephone and other deities, dark mothers, as well as other deities who can help us go through the process of um, healing trauma and how we move on from that. And the reason why I want to do that, especially for specific people who've not only who are either not only going through trauma processing or have gone through it and are now in the aftermath of it, understanding the dark sides and the shadows, the light and the dark, which is something very interesting to me and that I will be talking about in the future with the lovely Wendy Rule. Hopefully you saw the video where we chatted about her um, path as a witch and as a musician, a singer, beautiful singer. But the focus on the darkness and the light is really important to me because a big realization that I had at the beginning of last year when I started going through the trauma dumping and then the trauma sorting and then the trauma processing was the understanding that you can't have light without dark and vice versa, which was at the time a really inconvenient revelation for me because I'd always thought that you're supposed to get away from the darkness to go towards the light and then become a light being. That was my frame of mind in my spiritual path, even though I had a big, long period in my life when I was an atheist, which kind of led me into darkness, but that's another story for another time. But with the Coven, I wanted it to be a small group of people. So people who, like I said, like me, are going through the trauma processing, whatever stage they're in. Um, and I wanted to talk about, which is something I haven't noticed people talking about a lot with trauma processing, is turning back and seeing who you've hurt through the trauma that you went through and how it eventuated in your life, therefore flowed on to how you treated other people. I've had people close to me that I either shut out inadvertently or purposefully, um, sometimes for the sake of survival, in order to not continue to be traumatized by the people, um, one of which the one who caused the most harm was my mum, growing up, which is sort of like a dichotomy because she had a good side too, which is always something that can block you from healing trauma when you focus on, but sometimes they're good. When they're sober, they're nice. Every now and again, they did this or that. So you continue to allow the trauma to wash over you. But I cut ties. I'm a nine destiny, and I'm the kind of person that if someone's done me wrong, that's it. But I did go through processing, and I've posted videos about that, and I've forgiven and so forth. More often than not, forgiveness is about healing yourself, not necessarily for the other person. But through that, there have been people in my life that I have hurt because of my reaction to the trauma, the childhood trauma. Um, some people who came along with me and learnt and heard and understood and therefore were not blocked. Uh, one person in particular who I'm not going to talk about and share a lot of personal details. Sorry, I have a cat playing around on the other side of this little stable table. Um, but one person who I had reached out to this time last year took them almost a year to respond, and who had hurt in the past and who had hurt me too. But I explained myself, shared my story and my journey, and wanted to open up the conversation to allow them space to uh, dump on me and tell me about how what I had done to them had had affected them, and therefore give them the opportunity without any judgment on my behalf, without any expectation of forgiveness, even just understanding at the very least, to let them rake me over the coals in order to get it all out and start their own journey of healing. Well, uh, the interesting thing is the way this person responded was, I'm good. I don't need it. I don't need the healing. And to me, it was obvious that it was the masking of, I'm not letting you know, I'm not giving you the satisfaction like I'm some kind of vampire who needs to hear the trauma. It's a very uncomfortable thing to open yourself up to people and say, okay, let's have it out. I'm open. Um, Say what you need to say, do what you got to do to get it out of your system, make yourself feel better. I had to look at my motivations for opening myself up to do that. Was I doing it to make myself feel better, or was I altruistically interested in them being able to get it off their chest and to be able to move on? And I really feel that that was my intention. It wasn't so like a 12-step program where, well, now I'm at this step, I have to make sure I clear the path and make everything right. If they choose to stagnate, to continue feeling vitriolic thoughts and feelings towards me, so be it. Everybody's on their own journey, you can't change them. And yes, there was a portion of that in me that wanted to feel better about having opened up the pathway for them to be able to dump on me, dra- rake me over the coals, and get it out of their system. But for the most part, it was for not trying to break the ancestral cycle of passing on the trauma and have it go on and on throughout the generations. So I'm kind of giving a little bit of that away, of course, but the person who I'm talking about, we had um, conversations about, via email, but mind you, about the trauma I'd been through and therefore explaining certain behaviours, things I did and said throughout the years. But it was a very dry conversation with no compassion on their part, and I tried not to be syrupy on my part by being over apologetic, but by the same token, letting them know, hey, I understand it could have affected you this way, that way, what have you. And then recently I received an email after I'd reached out to them, how's it all going? Just to keep in touch and everything. And they responded with, after a little bit of chit chat about what they've been up to, saying, look, I don't know where this is going, don't know what you're expecting. And the words they chose to pretty much, I think, was deliberately to hurt me, but I also understand why, was I've already grieved you. Now, that statement in and of itself, I took as kind of like a cheap shot, like lobbing a grenade over a wall and probably sitting back waiting to see how I'd respond. I understood it for what it was and just let it wash over me, because in the olden days I might have gotten really upset about that and tried to over explain myself. But since I've been through this healing, I understood where it was coming from, that it was kind of a superior attitude that was behind that statement, trying to hurt me, or at least saying I've moved on, fuck you, whatever. Um, and it was amazing because normally, like I said, it would have hurt me, and it really, to me, it was just a sad, well, okay, that's where you're at. You're not ready. And I know there might never be a pathway back to the healing and to developing or re establishing a relationship with this person. Um, and if that's the case, so be it. A year ago, 2 years ago, it would have really mortified me and I would have been really upset about it. But because I understand not only where I'm at, but where they are at, and the motivations behind, or, you know, well, yeah, the motivations behind why they said that, I decided not to let it hurt me. I understood where it came from, and decided that I would respond not so much in kind, because then it becomes a tit for tat. So I just said, okay, look, you stated years ago how you felt, and until you're ready, I can't force the issue. Was that kind of response. I didn't want to do the knee jerk reaction. What do you mean you've already grieved me? I understood it. Um, but by the same token, I thought it's a little bit childish to do something like that. Like I said, lobbing a grenade over a wall, because you've got the screens in between. We're not close by physically, so it's not like it was something you could say in front of me, or you might have said in front of me, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit there. But when it comes to creating a space, a coven, or whatever you have at the Firehorse Grove and on Patreon, when I do that, I want it to be a space for people who, like me, have not only gone through trauma processing, but who are in the process of trying to reach back to the people we might have hurt, and it not being received well or not received at all, and then how we move on from that. Um, I want to explore the dark side, the shadows, and bringing it to the light so that we can have a better understanding of who we are. And I'm just going to double check that my phone's okay. All right. So keep an eye out for that. I will provide links for that. I'm not sure what to do with tier 2 and 3. I think that'll be more about trance work, which I do quite a bit of, but don't share it on the channel because it's kind of special. And a lot of the stuff I put on the channel is informational, just sharing info. I'd like it to be an online grimoire for people, but also the things I'm interested in. I think you might have noticed that I've done the legendary lore, which might not technically be witchcraft, but I have a lot of interest, and I don't want to create a multitude of channels for different things I'm interested in. But I wanted to post this for people out there who might be going through trauma processing, having difficulty turning around and saying, okay, how do I stop the ancestral or generational flow on of trauma? How do I give people the space to do the forgiving if that's necessary, or at least the um, opening up the pathway for them to uh, state their case, unlike what we were afforded when it came to the people who abused or traumatized us as kids or even as adults. We weren't given the opportunity to openly say this: when you did this, it hurt me this way, it really upset me when you did such and such. I've developed this tick, or I've got this habit, or whatever it is, because of the trauma you put me through. To allow other people to have that space, I think, is really special. And for them to slam the door in your face and saying, I'm not interested, well, we have to accept it and move on, because just because we would have liked that opportunity doesn't mean they're ready for it. It might be years, and that's what I said to this person in the email. When you're ready, let me know. But if they never come back and say, okay, I'm ready, I want to talk about this, fine. That's up to them. We can't expect people to have arrived at the same point of healing that we have. People have their own lives to lead. They've got their own shit to push through, and we can't expect that when we've arrived at a certain point that everyone's come along with us. So if whether you're male, female, or whatever gender you are, whatever age you are, if you're going through trauma processing, and you don't have to be pagan, but it will be very pagan heavy, if you will. I will be developing or opening up a space on Patreon soon. I'm going to call it the Fire Horse Grove, because I am a fire horse, and I really feel that using that power to uh, process trauma is really helpful. I'm going to share my journey in a more um, not official, but I think in the Coven, it's not going to be you have to have gone through trauma to join the Coven, but it will be an online space for people to um, process their trauma, understand their trauma, share their dreams and rituals that I will be sharing, um, to deal with it, to understand it, the dark magic that sometimes is required in order to absorb and integrate the shadow. All the things that are related to shadow work, trauma processing, um, and there's going to be some light stuff too, because we have to balance light and dark and shadow and light and so on. But I wanted to put this out there also as a channel update. Um, I'm feeling good, as much as it could have been a tower moment for me in terms of tarot. Uh, but we move on. This is a fire horse year in Chinese astrology. I'm feeling that I'm really buoyed, if you'd like, being lifted up by that energy, because I'm not allowing anything to get me down. And I hope you're feeling okay. And if not, let's heal together. So I hope to talk to you soon. And if you feel so inclined, please like this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so, and please share. Take care and blessed be.